Hi, I'm Man LeVar.
I'm Lisa Lancer-Rose.
And this is
This Animal Life. Welcome.
Today's heavy, right?
Today is Cadaver Dog Day.
Which, you're kind of the expert, so I think I'm just going to
Okay.
have to ask questions because I thought that they did their job and everything was great. So, yeah, I guess we could start with my idea. Cadaver dogs is, I think what everybody's probably is that they're trained to mark on a scent that is where human remains were.
Yeah.
And, dogs being the sniffers that they are, they know that.
So we believe them.
And they're right. And that's...
Yeah, they're loyal. They're good dogs.
That's all I know.
He's a good boy. He's a good girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're...
Yeah, good boy.
Well,
Good boy.
You were going to look at some cases where the cadaver dog alert was consequential, right?
The little boy, the father,
There's a red wine.
the little boy disappeared. Yeah, the red wine. The little boy disappeared, and what, they find him 5 years later? They found his skull.
Wow.
And then 4 years later,
How'd they find the
convicted him,
skull?
right?
Did a cadaver dog find the skull?
No, and that's the thing. The cadaver dog didn't find the remains. A hiker found the skull.
Okay.
And like a shirt and a couple other things, but that was pretty much it.
So a human found those things by eyeballing them.
Yes, by accident. Hikers. It's always the hikers, and I gotta stop hiking. Like,
or somebody walking their dog.
Yeah. And it's not always the dog that finds the bones either. It's sometimes the people look down and go, that looks like a skull.
Was there just one cadaver dog or more than one?
There was one.
Okay.
Molly, I think her name was, and she alerted in the house, like all over the place. She alerted in the truck, in the bed, and like places on the property, and all kinds of alerts all over the place where she said she wouldn't have alerted that much. Like she wouldn't have been mistaken. Like they never alert that much.
Okay.
In some place where there haven't been human remains. Like there's not going to be that level of alerting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this testimony was crucial. This has been in the news recently, right?
Right. It's ongoing, isn't it?
I think it is. Yes. Also the Kristen Smart?
Kristen Smart. Yep.
Yeah. That trial's been in the news. And a cadaver dog, I guess the young man who was the last person to see her,
yes,
is on trial, and his father. And I guess
right.
The accusation is that this kid was obsessed with her, and he lied about fooling around with her at the party. They had left a party late.
Yeah.
It was a frat party, of course. And they were walking with some friends, and one by one, the friends took off, and he said, I got it from here. And then he later...
He was going to walk her home or whatever.
Yeah, because my dorm is right there, whatever. And they said he lied to the police later and said that he just met her that night, or he hadn't been talking to her at the party. And then everybody testified that no, they were falling down drunk and laughing in the hallway and everything. So, and other people testified that he was creepy. Who isn't? What young man is?
I know. I was going to say, please, God,
no, I'm
don't
kidding.
Ever call witnesses. No, I know, but still, that's not anyway.
That's so
it's
creepy.
Okay that's
subjective.
There. Creepy is very subjective. Not that some people aren't creepy and should be avoided. However,
the people that I think are creepy are in fact creepy.
Right.
You too?
Right. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess you need several people to say, yeah, creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy is by consensus.
Yes.
Right. So, but a cadaver dog alerted on the door to his dorm room.
Oh, okay.
And then a blanket or something. And then I
Ooh,
think maybe
okay.
property. Anyway, on the father's property by a cement slab. I can't remember. I'm adding that. I don't know. So he's a cement. Or let's have a patio here.
Right. Nice wishing well right here.
So the thing is, you get them on the stand, and the handler says, my dog alerted. I think there were actually several cadaver dogs who came one after the other, and they all alerted on the same places. Alerted at that, they took them down the hallway. They alerted on the same dorm room door, and then on the same pile of clothes. It's been a few days since I read about that. So yeah, I think you have more credibility if multiple dogs came by and alerted at the same place. And
yeah,
it sounds like Molly was the only dog.
I think so. I mean, that's the only one that they bring up.
Yeah. So you're going on
in her testimony.
I guess the problem with a cadaver dog is that it's the handler say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about that is the relationship between the handler and the dog can be so subjective.
Okay.
Yeah. We've been talking lately about whether or not animals can lie.
Right.
And what their motives for lying are, and the theory of mind that's involved in a lie. You have to have a theory of mind in order to control what you imagine someone else is thinking, to make them think something other than the truth for your own self-interest.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to be able to gaslight them.
Right. You have to understand how they're going to interpret what you say or do next. Or think you predict that.
Yeah.
Predict what they're or how they're going to receive the information.
So our question is, can we rely on cadaver dogs?
Yeah.
I mean, when you Google it, you see cadaver dogs are like 95% reliable.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, most cadaver dogs are handled by volunteers.
Yes, the woman who was Molly in the red wine case, she was a volunteer.
Yeah. I mean, because it's not a job. It's not like you can't, there's not full-time employment for that.
Oh.
There was a Casey Anthony. There was a cadaver dog.
Casey Anthony.
Yeah, on the car seat.
Because alerted on the trunk.
Yeah.
And the car seat.
Oh, and my daughter sent me something recently about, I don't know if it's a recent thing. She sent it recently where there was a divorced couple and the father had the child and the child disappeared. And I think, he said that the car was carjacked or, and the cops are going, carjackers return the car or return the baby. They don't want the baby. They want the car.
Yeah, they usually don't want the baby.
I think it's Bianca Jones that, and the father says his child is still alive. She was 2, I think.
Okay.
But I think the cadaver dog alerted on the car seat, and 5 hits: the back seat, the car seat, the blanket, her bed, and the trunk of the car. And the cops saw that and said, we're not finding this little girl.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So here's part of the problem right there is the attitude of the people surrounding.
Yes.
I can give you an example that I got from Kat Warren. She wrote the book, What the Dog Knows. She is, she has trained her German Shepherd, whose name is Solo, to become a detection dog, in particular in cadaver detection. So she says when she first heard the Clever Hans story, which we've talked about multiple times, real quick, Clever Hans is, well, you tell it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it was the horse who could do math and translate 6 different languages and do all kinds of wonderful things. But Clever Hans, then they tested it and tested it, but it was the horse was reading the cues from the audience as well as his owner, when he got the right answer, because people would give tells. They'd be like, "Oh, 12, 12. Oh, is he going to
Because he's
stop?" And he goes,
stomping.
"Oh,
He's like,
right."
what's 2 plus
Like 1,
2?
2, 3, right, 3, 4, and then everybody goes, "Oh, 4."
Yeah.
Like you kind of perk up,
Yeah.
and so he'd stop.
So he couldn't do math if he couldn't see other people.
Right.
Or if the people
But
didn't know the
he was
answer.
really good. He was really good because, those tells are going to be subtle.
Yes.
But it could be like the lift of an eyebrow, the tilt of a
Even
head,
maybe you're
but
breathing.
and he nailed it.
He nailed
like all the
That's
time.
brilliant. He was clever, but of course he was debunked right after that.
Right. He was debunked.
Yeah. Damn.
So are the dogs doing that?
Right. So she says when she first heard about the Clever Hans story, she thought it was a story about a horse, not about humans. And now she realizes that the story is about how humans load expectations on a horse's back, which can hold all sorts of ideologies and theories. She said Hans wasn't a genius or a brute. He was a smart and devoted horse. Yes. And her dog Solo is also clever and devoted, which means he's fully capable of lying to her. And so her job is to prevent her dog from lying to her. So she tells this story as an example of how a lie, and in this case, I don't think lie is the right word, because a lie implies deliberate deception.
Right, as we were deliberate deception
in the Fu Manchu episode. That was
deliberate. He knew they were going to take that away. He was going to hide it.
Right. So she's training one day, and she's with a fellow handler, and they go to an abandoned warehouse to practice. And the handler the other handler has gone ahead and hidden things. Let me talk about things, because I imagine you're curious.
Yeah. No, wait. So wait, back up. So when they're testing these guys,
okay,
somebody else hides the stuff.
Yes,
not the trainer. Thank you. Okay, I mean, that's very important.
I guess. Do you want to what? Would you like to hear what the process is for training?
Yes, yeah. Like, how do cadaver dogs get to be cadaver dogs? Like, what do you got, a corpse that you drag around the house a couple times? What do you do? How do you train a dog to do that?
Well, I've trained, I trained trick dogs, and some of the tricks involve scent. So I can tell you how it starts, and it doesn't matter what the scent is.
Yeah.
It can be, we use birch because you can train your dogs, and you can trial and get scent detection, titles. And it's the same process for whatever scent you're training your dog on. So it can be these essential oils like birch and clove, or it can be drugs. You train your dog on marijuana, you train your dog on cocaine, Right. It has to be each distinct drug.
Right.
So a drug-sniffing dog might be trained for several. I don't know, to get certified if they have to have training on several different scents or what. I don't know anything about how you get that qualification.
Right.
And then I was at the canine biathlon, and there was a COVID sniffing dog. We all had to walk past the COVID sniffing dog. So that dog had been trained, I don't know what, on the sweat of people who had COVID. I don't know.
I don't know.
They had tissues they had blown their nose in or what. But here's how it works. So you get a little tin, say, with some holes in it, and you put the scent in there. You have to be really careful that you don't transfer the scent all over the place. So you yeah. So with
just knowing essential oils, I mean, oh dear God, they get everywhere.
Yes. So you pick up the bottle. Is there any oil on the outside of the bottle? Now you've got it on your hand. So you want to wear gloves, right? We do something called the box search, and you want to mix up the boxes, but you can't slide that box around, because scent kind of spills out. It's like a volcano. it comes out and it'll go down. Like the reason your dog becomes a counter surfer is because the scent of the food up on the counter is like spilling down the side of the. Yeah.
Okay, so you can imagine that as
if you can imagine if it were a fog that was a little heavy and it was spilling down the cascading down the side of your that you could see that. Well, in a way, your dog can see that. Your dog can sense that. So that's how they know where food is on the counter. These are all things you have to be conscious of as you train your dog. But the way it works first is you have this little container that has the target scent in it. And you put a treat on. That's how I do it anyway. Put a treat on it. And you let the dog see that you're putting the treat on it. And then you say, find it. And you let the dog go. And the dog goes and eats the treat. And now it's a Pavlovian thing. Now they associate the scent with the treat.
Okay.
And so you put a little further out, you put it over here, you put it over there, you let them see you put the treat on it, and you say, find it. And they go and they get the treat and they're smelling, in this case, my case would be birch. When I teach my students to teach their dogs this, we're always using birch. So at some point when the dog knows, oh, I got this game, I go over to that little tin, I can see the tin and there's a treat on it. Then we don't put a treat on it. And the dog goes and touches it with the nose, and I like to click. So the dogs know that a click means the treat's coming. So instead of getting a treat automatically, they touch their nose to it because they're looking for the treat. And they're like, hey. But I have clicked. If you're fast enough, if you click like right before or right as they touch, there's like a little eye-hand coordination lag. So you're going to click a little early, just a little early. But dogs are very forgiving. Anyway, you click and they're going, okay, I just have to wait a second and I'm going to get my treat. And then you start moving it further out. And then you start hiding it, say behind the leg of a chair or up on a chair. But eventually you're hiding it out of sight. And we put them in boxes, like shoe boxes with holes in the top that we've cut in the top.
Okay.
And the boxes all look alike. You can also use like random boxes. Nowadays, a lot of us have a lot of Amazon boxes.
Shoe boxes.
Yeah, if you go to a nose work class, is what it's called. If you go to nose work, it's probably different sized Amazon boxes. And so in this case, I know at this early stage, I know where the hide is.
Right.
All right. Also, at some point when your dog gets good at going and touching it, the scent with the nose, the target, little disc thing, they're going to be looking back like, I found it, and they might touch it again with their nose. At this point, you might delay rewarding by asking for the alert that you want. Not everybody will train an alert, but you will ask them to sit, for example, or to lie down.
I was going to ask what the alerts were. You know, because pointer dogs point, right?
Yes. And they do that naturally. Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But you reward that, you reinforce it. I have taught my dogs to sit when they find it. Some people have them lie down. Some have them lie down on it. You can have them put a paw on it. I have taught Mick, when we play the shell game, that he puts a paw on it and holds the paw on it, just because I think it's cuter. It's like, it's this one. And he holds his paw there.
This one.
Yeah. And, you know, I just do this informally for tricks class. You know, there's nobody's life is at stake here. We're not finding someone. It's not search and rescue. We're not trying to find somebody who needs saving in rubble, you know.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is not rigorous, what I'm talking about. And I am often sloppy with sense transfer and stuff like that. And my dogs have learned to accommodate that. They go for the strongest source. You know, they can tell levels of it. So with practice, they no longer alert for a thin filament of it. They got the massive cooked scent.
Right.
But at some point I delay the treat until I get the sit.
Okay.
If you're doing a bomb sniffing dog, you don't want them pawing at it.
No, that would be good. That would be bad. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, and if
it's here, wow,
kaboom. You don't want them pawing a bomb. You don't want them to drugs or bomb dog is going to gingerly like sit over there and point. And you want them to not miss a bomb.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Or somebody in the rubble. Also, we can teach dogs to distinguish between people, like when you have bloodhounds tracking a alleged criminal. They're looking for a particular person. Or if you have a crime and you have some object that is invested in the scent of the criminal, but you don't know who among these people did it, you can have the dog distinguish in a lineup who is the person who peed on this, or whatever it is, right? And they can do that like in the moment. They can be, I'm looking for this particular person. You can train them to do that. In the case of a cadaver dog, which when I've talked about this with people, they're like, yeah, but they can't tell. Maybe they can tell there was a body here, but they can't tell you whose body. Because the humans usually already know who's dead. They just don't know where the body is or where the body was.
Right.
Sometimes they're finding the body, like it's buried here, and they can tell through the ground becomes suffused with the odor of decay, but they're not looking for a particular body. Or they can tell you the body was buried here, but they're not telling you the body. They're telling you a body was buried here. And what trainers do, as I understand it, is train their dogs to say a human body. It's not this particular dead person, it's this particular species, which is Homo sapiens sapiens. It's not a raccoon, it's not a rat, it's not a mollusk. It was a human. So they're trained to alert to human decomp.
Okay.
So
well, here's my question with that is that we're mammals. We're meat. So why is rotting mammal flesh different from another type of rotting mammal flesh?
I don't know. There are, I did come across chemicals that they're actually looking for, the peculiar chemicals in any rotting mammal. But it might just be the combination is distinctive for humans.
I mean, I don't doubt that it is distinctive. It just seems like,
it's amazing. It's amazing that they can tell. And they can. They can tell the difference between a rotting human. And that becomes a stage of the training. And the materials that people use are baby teeth. Like I decided at one point I was going to try it. And I posted on Facebook, hey, can I have some baby teeth? And people actually sent me. I was getting people.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, I got baby teeth in the mail. Yeah, I kind of changed my mind about that.
DNA in there. You could like clone them. Anyway.
They also, I made a list for you, Anne, because I thought this would be something you were curious about. So I was ready for you. Okay. Also, you can go to your dentist and say, can I have some wisdom teeth? Like, you have any spare wisdom teeth?
And they wouldn't even give me my uvula when I got my uvulectomy. They don't give you your like gallbladder stones anymore. My dad came home with a bottle of those, and they don't give you anything anymore. So you can get teeth from the dentist?
Yeah. Well, I guess if you're training a cadaver dog, you can. You gotta have a good reason.
You better have you gotta have a good reason.
My mother had a necklace made of her wisdom teeth.
That's like, anyway.
I know, that's my mother.
It's creepy.
It is creepy, and she wore it sometimes. Yeah, I wonder what happened to that. Anyway, you can have doctors give you swabs that have blood on them, or even surgical swabs after they're used. It's all going in the trash. And you can age it, because another thing you want is to teach your dog to find a fresh cadaver versus a day-old cadaver versus hundreds of years old. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you can get dirt from burial sites. There's a store called the Bone Room, and they sell SNR, search and rescue training packages.
I was going to say SNR sounds a little close to S&M, so you better qualify that. Okay. Gotcha. Search and rescue.
Cops, when you start working with cops, they will give you things like carpet from a murder or suicide scene. Sheets. I don't know about clothing because that might go into evidence, but some things like if a body was lying on a bed for days and days and days undiscovered, you can maybe get a hold of that sheet and they can cut it up. This is I saw a reference to this in that book, What the Dog Knows, where they cut up a sheet because it had been under and I guess beside an undiscovered body. So in that case, the whole room is full, and I imagine a lot of the fabrics in that room were saturated, but in particular the sheet. So all you need is a little piece, right? Okay. So lots of cadaver dogs could work with that old sheet. So the dogs are taught. Gotcha. Either the handler. No, I think this happens. Let's get into the gray area. Or do you have any questions at this point?
No, I get it. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Let's talk about how the lies happen. The unintentional lies, or let's say misunderstanding, or miscommunication. So
or false alert.
Yes. Good. I like that. Yes. Okay. So Kat Warren was training Solo one day. And of course, this is just an example that she gave in her book, What the Dog Knows.
Okay.
All right. She said that they were in this abandoned warehouse, right? And they're doing this training that I was telling you about, where at first, because you've hidden it and you're just teaching the dog the process, or to associate a reward with finding the scent. You find the scent and you alert. You're either teaching them to alert or not. We can get to that in a minute. And they are going to get a reward when they find that scent. And it's very finely tuned scent, as we've been saying. So in this case, it is a cadaver of whatever age. And then there comes a point when you start working, you have to work with other people so that they hide. I think they're called hides. They place hides and you don't know where they are. So now you're completely dependent on your dog to tell you where they are. So you can't unintentionally cue your dog the way people were unintentionally cueing Clever Hans.
Right.
Yeah. So she's in this warehouse. Someone else, a fellow handler, has left the hides, and the hides had cooked for half an hour. So they've been sitting and just creating a kind of vapor in the air. Even an old dried up bone will release a kind of, molecules in the air that the dog can sense.
Sure.
Okay. So Solo is a young German Shepherd, and he's very enthusiastic. He's just one of these over exuberant, difficult to handle, like super dogs. My husband and I, there's one across the street, we call him a monster. It's a good thing. Maybe I don't want to live with that animal, but he sure is fun to watch and a little scary, So that's how I imagine Solo. So she's got a long leash. Is she? I can't remember if the dog's on a leash or not. Probably not. At this stage of the training, the dog is because you want to encourage independence. This is part of the catch in this situation.
Gotcha.
Okay, so the dog passes a garbage can, and he does this leap in the air. He twists and flips himself in the air like he's going, "Wait, what?" Right, as he passes the garbage can, and he turns back and does a deep sniff, is what she calls it, by this garbage can, and I so identify with this. Like I said, my husband and I are always watching this dog across the street that we're afraid of, and I can't wait for the dog to move, because if he ever gets loose, he's going to come tear my dogs to shreds. But anyway, yeah. So, but she was either on leash or off. I think off. She was trying to stay behind her dog, right? So she's coming up behind her dog, and when the dog did this spectacular flip in the air, she slowed down to admire him.
Oh,
right. Wouldn't I would. I'd be like, oh, my dog is so fucking cool. That's why I have border collies. So she slowed down just to admire him. And in that moment, he looked up at her and their eyes met, and he gave his alert, which was to lie down.
Oh,
okay. And I have a training manual because I was getting into this at one point with my dogs.
Sure.
That's why I asked for baby teeth.
Baby teeth, right.
and I was taking seminars and stuff. Okay. So I have this training manual from one of these seminars that I took, and I was looking for, knowing that we were going to have this podcast today. I didn't know I was going to talk so much.
No, that's okay. There's a lot of information here that I have no idea.
Okay. Well, it says you cannot trust a trained alert. That was right there in the manual.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That can be part of it, but you have to learn to read your dog's body language. And I was thinking the trouble with that is you also have to learn to read when your dog is reading your body language or misreading your body language, because when Solo went into his alert, Warren had this feeling, something feels wrong about this, but she didn't know what to do with that. So she says to the, like, what are you going to do? She can't go over there and double check. She can't go over there and smell it herself and go, yeah. So she lets the other handler know, we found the hide, and the other handler, he knows where the hides are, and says, no, that's a false alert. So I'm thinking in that microsecond, Solo thought she was slowing down because she knew where the hide was. See, dogs don't know that you can't smell it. I mean, I'm right. I mean, I don't know what dogs know, but I think my dogs think that I can smell all the same things they can.
Oh, sure. I mean, as people, we do that kind of thing. We assume, well, no, I mean, just in between people, I assume that because we like so many of the same things, you must like sleeping on the ground in the woods. And you're like, no, hotel. I want a hotel.
I want a mattress. I want to be warm, and I don't.
Yeah. And I'm confounded why you're not sleeping on the ground in the woods. So
I don't like being cold, Anne.
Dogs, of course, assume that we can smell this.
Yes, my dogs think I want the rawhide when it's all slippery and gooey.
Right, that's why dogs go, no.
Yeah, it's like, dude, go ahead and swallow it, knock yourself out. Yeah, I don't want that. Yeah, so they think that you can smell the same thing. So when she slowed down, Solo's like, oh, it must be here. So, I think that's what that was. Sometimes dogs will alert because they want the treat, or they're bored, or they want to go home, or their paw hurts or something, so they're like, it's right here. Let's get this over with, Yeah. So Warren says even a microsecond of hesitation can make a difference in certain stages of training, because you got to be careful not to reward a false alert. Right. And move on. So the dog learns to tell the difference, or learns how much this matters. Like, you got to be really accurate. You're not going to get rewarded unless it's really, really, really there. There's nothing else going on here, because you can be sloppy about other stuff. And we are. Oh, yeah. In daily life, or even in, the tricks training that I do, I'm becoming more and more aware of how sloppy we are in cueing and in rewarding. Okay. And the dogs have to learn to read from this cloud of variation in our voices and our body language and in our marking and rewarding. So, yeah. So you need to be consistent, and you need to not reward. Like, it's a common problem for tricks training when your dog, you cue for one thing and your dog gives you something else, and it's adorable. Or it's funny. Gotcha. And you're like, oh, okay. Good one. Yeah. Like when I'm doing anything with my dogs, which is, not often, it's sort of like, oh yeah, close enough. Here you go. Yes. And my husband, we all complain about our mates too when we're trying to train, because they don't care as much as we do. So they're not going to be as exacting. That was the problem I had with training. Anytime I actually thought I'd get serious, is there other people in the house? Yeah, they mess it up. And they mess it up. Yeah. Yeah. They do. So you're training a dog to find dead bodies, and your husband's giving crackers for them, like going, hey, high five, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Also in agility, I noticed this, I'm sure it happens in everything else too, is that you're teaching a dog, say, to go over a jump in a particular direction, say you're a backside. Okay. As we approach the jump, don't jump it straight on as we have been all this time. No, go around the other side and come toward me that's the
Okay.
backside. But say your dog does that and knocks the bar down. So the dog did the backside, but they knocked a bar. People will
Mm.
reward the backside,
Oh, okay.
even though the bar came down.
Mm.
And part of it is you're so happy they did the backside. You want to
Right.
reward that, but the backside is complicated. There are lots of parts to it. So in rewarding the dog, despite dropping the bar, you have just said, it's okay if you drop a bar sometimes. And
yeah,
you will not get your title if your dog drops a bar.
sure.
So you've wasted your time and money. Anyway, but it's so hard to be that exacting. It's so hard to be patient.
Yeah.
I don't know. So in a volunteer cadaver dog training, how many of those little, this is hard, this is so precise, I want to go home, I was sleeping in a tent on the ground and I'm cold, like my hip hurts. Like, I just want to go.
Well, there is that.
So in your training, you have to be really careful not to accidentally reward a false alert, right?
Right.
And sometimes you don't know where the hides are, or it gets vague. Like, did my dog alert because there's a breeze that carried the scent over here? Like,
okay,
yeah, it's not that clear cut. So
yeah, so it wouldn't necessarily be that they're pulling a clever Hans that they're reacting to you. It could be that wind has
a ghost
moved the
scent.
scent.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But then the scent is still there.
Right. They're not wrong.
I mean, it's not at the right place. Right. They're not wrong, but they're not at the right spot. But there is the smell of human decay.
Right. And sometimes it happens that, say, a dog alerts when you're searching for rubble or something,
Okay,
say
sure.
there's a natural disaster. Whole crews show up, to search, and you have EMTs, if you think somebody might be alive, you have all these people show up and put all these hours of work in moving earth, or you think there's like a graveyard here or something, and there's a huge expenditure of time and money and human power, and it was a false alert, but better to be safe than sorry, right?
Yeah.
So she says that the trouble is, this is Cat Warren, the dog handler named Cat.
Yeah.
The adaptive advantages of our two species co-evolution are obvious. That's, we get along so well, right? Dogs and humans. But those same connections are a disadvantage when you want the dog's nose to be independent and disinterested.
Oh.
So she says that false alerts are like alcoholism. They are much more common than acknowledged.
Oh. All right. Now I'm feeling attacked. Is this what's going on?
Why?
No, much more common than acknowledged. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. And in that handbook it said you can't trust trained alerts, because the dog will give you the trained alert when they think it suits them, or they think you want it, right? As Solo did. But you can tell when what your dog's body language looks like when it's found the scent.
Right. Yeah.
And that's more reliable than the trained alert.
Oh.
Is how your dog behaves.
That makes sense.
When they found the target scent.
Actually, that makes perfect sense.
That's why some people don't teach an alert.
Oh, I see. Your dog's body language, you can read that.
Which is probably what Cat Warren, when she had a misgiving about the dog's alert,
a different reaction.
The dog's body language wasn't right.
Right. Like you can tell the difference between barks.
Yeah.
Like that's he's got something cornered. Ooh, what's he got? And you go find him, because that's what the bark is. Or, he wants in, he wants out.
Or I can tell if somebody's on my doorstep, or
their
car pulled up.
Right. versus whatever else.
Yeah, I know if the car's out there, and then I know, oh, now they're on the doorstep. I don't have to see it. I can hear it.
I see.
Yeah, and my dog's barking.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So you think about how much the trainer/handler has invested in that dog's reputation. You work so hard, as I've been describing the process. And you do all of this in the case of a cadaver dog, but in any of these detection dogs, for every subtle variation. Like, how long has it been there? What's the status of the decay? You get the materials, you get training, you pay for seminars, you train, you intern with somebody, you're out in the morning, you're out in the night, you're going to all these different places, you're taking pains to use tweezers and double rubber gloves, and another problem is the dog alerting to the cadaver piece that you have, whatever that is, or are they alerting to the plastic container that you had it in, or are they alerting to the scent of rubber gloves?
So
you want to vary all of that. You want glass containers or plastic baggies. Yeah. I remember back when I was writing my first novel, I spent a few days with a police dog training. I met a guy who had a police dog. He was a police canine handler, and I went with him to the Baltimore Police Dog Training Academy.
Cool.
It was cool. Yeah. And one of the things they did was drug sniffing. I saw how they did it, and they used tennis balls. This is back in the 80s, and I think they use Kongs now. But that was the reward. The dog found the scent, and they got to catch a tennis ball. But drug runners started packing things with tennis balls.
Oh no. No, wait. How would that mess it up? Because the dog wants the tennis ball,
so
but it's also smelling the drugs. So wouldn't they alert more?
I wonder about that. I guess they would use them to distract. Like, they would be everywhere and you can't find, and maybe there were no drugs there, but
okay. So you put tennis balls just everywhere in all your luggage.
Yes.
Including the one with the drugs.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, she says the problem with the false alert is that the dog is, the human has so much of their own ambition and ego wrapped up in the dog. And they love the dog, and they spend all this time with the dog. So they have such a complex vested interest in the dog's success. My dogs as trick dogs, and I sort of sell myself as somebody who's really sloppy about all this, like really laid back. So I lower the bar, and then people
but that's safe.
They're surprised that my dogs could be and lives are not dependent on what I do.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I do have to have some credibility, right? My dogs do have to do tricks, and I do have to know what I'm talking about, and I have to be able to communicate it to other people so that their dogs learn to do it too. And so I have this network, this social network of friends and students, and being president of the club and running of the club and all. And so these people have they have a community interest in their dog being able to do this. Like, they have social stakes. They have relationships with the police officers. They have relationships with the people who are getting them, with the dentist, getting them wisdom teeth, right?
Yeah.
So,
sure.
If they end up having their dog alert for a trial that's going to trial, they really want the dog to have been right, and somebody's life is at stake here. The victims' families are invested. Anyway, so they have it is very common for, according to Warren and other places I've seen, for people to say their dogs never lie, because if and here's
they have to present themselves as accurate.
Yes. And they may actually believe that. She talks about there's bullshit that you believe, and then there's the even more insidious. There's bullshit that you know is bullshit, and then there's bullshit you don't know is bullshit.
Right.
So there are people who believe their dogs never lie, honestly, you know, because and they'll say, if my dog alerted, a cadaver was there.
Yeah.
There is no way for us to corroborate that, really, in all cases.
Yeah.
So she says when they brag that their dogs never false alert, they're contributing to the general bullshit about working dogs and their accuracy.
Okay. But it is a high accuracy.
It is a high accuracy. I saw, you know, if you Google it, how accurate is a cadaver dog? What comes up first is 95%. There's a an article that gets a lot of traffic. It's first. I've seen elsewhere that it is like 85 to 60%. It depends on the training of the handler.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. The dog, I mean, on the dog side, the dog wants to please you. The dog wants the treat. The dog wants the tug toy or whatever the reward is. The dog, you slowed down and the dog is deferring to you as the alpha in the relationship, right? Kat Warren talks about, here's another problem. This is more like Clever Hans. Say a bunch of cops think somebody, like, let's go to, I don't know, Red Wine. They think Red Wine totally killed his son.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally. So they're standing around and they're like, let's say in the backyard, there's a cement slab and they're like, or a wishing well. Like, when was this?
Yeah. So
they're standing around looking at the wishing well and they're like, go check that wishing well. The dog's a social creature and the pack is all gazing in a certain direction with body language saying,
this is where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Warren is trying to, in the book, she's working on proofing her dog off of the human gaze. So when she approaches something like that, when a bunch of cops are standing around, she watches her dog.
Right. Yeah. That they can follow. They're not just looking at us. They're looking like, where are you looking?
Yeah. Which is total theory of mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if Solo alerts when a bunch of people are standing around staring at something, she discounts it. And she will ask them to leave or turn their backs. Yeah. So that their bias doesn't influence Solo. But she says the problem is, just as the dog is hardwired to depend on us to tell them where to go and what to do, we're hardwired to be attached to them and to crave our dog's success.
Oh, I was just going to say, in terms of like legal, I mean, I think I'd want to look into this. It's got to be, well, it's admissible in court. So it's not like a lie detector test that is inadmissible.
Okay.
Right. Because they get the handlers up there to talk and say, this is where they alerted and this is what they alerted on.
It's in the news right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you always hear about it. Casey Anthony's a perfect example. Like, people will always default to that. And I am not supporting or disclaiming anything about Casey Anthony. No judgment here. But people will use that as the proof that she had that baby in the trunk of that car.
Oh, because the dog alerted on the trunk.
Because the dog alerted on the trunk. So obviously she had something to do with it. And this is where she had the body. 100%. That is what convinces almost everybody. And it would convince me. I'd be like, hey, the dog smelled it, man. That's it. That baby was in that trunk. But I wonder if it is, well, if it's a jury, you can't say, like, if it was like a judge, they could weigh that and say, okay, this is the percentage of how often that's true. But if you get a jury, you're not saying, oh, my dog's 80% accurate. You're saying he's always right.
Right. Or even if you are saying 80% accurate, they're like, what do we do with that? Are we in the 80% or are we in the 20%? Or 80% is really high.
Yeah.
So it must be right. Odds are it's right.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm just wondering if a conviction ever rests on that. It can't. But again, if you've got a jury, I was going to say, if you've got a jury and I'm on that jury and I hear that a cadaver dog found it in 16 places in somebody's house, I'd be like, oh, geez.
Like that Molly. Yeah.
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 Oh, she alerted all over the place.
Yes. And she says, I think I read that, like, or there was a headline. I've never seen, my dog has never alerted so much before.
Yeah. That's what she basically said. Yeah.
And maybe
And
she's
never
absolutely right. Maybe her dog never alerted. So, and she's 100% sure that that's why her dog was alerting. But it could be that the dog alerted, the dog was in a great mood. Maybe the handler had an extra cup of coffee that day. And so she was in a perky mood. And the dog alerted vigorously. And she's like, oh, yeah, my dog's really onto something. And then the dog's like, I'm really onto something. Look how happy the handler is with me today. I'm just telling you, I know my dogs, how they throw behaviors at me. If I am super pleased, I try to get my students to be more enthusiastic, because that emotional contagion does so much. So I would like to know who else was in the room.
Yeah. I think
and how excited were they? Because the dog will feed off of that excitement. I'm not saying, I mean, we need them. We have no other method of finding odor, for indications that something was here that is anywhere near as reliable. I was reading this guy, Dr. Lawrence J. Myers. He's an expert on dog olfaction at the Auburn University College of Veterinary Medicine. And he says dogs want rewards, so they will give false alerts to get them. Dogs lie. We know they do.
I guess if they're doing it just to get the treat, that's a lie.
Of course it is. If they know that giving an alert when there isn't a scent. I mean, some dogs will give an alert because they're not sure that the alert is just what you want. Like at a certain stage of training, they my dog's like, you want me to lie down next to the shoebox, right? And I have to train him or her to no, I want you to lie down next to the shoebox that has birch in it.
Oh, I see.
It's not just the box, it's a particular box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a training stage. But in the case of
that is,
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's really scary that if it's all circumstantial evidence, and that's what convinces people is the cadaver dog. I immediately want to say, well, most likely the guy did it if there's all that circumstance. But you know what?
You got to have something else. In the case of, I wish I had refreshed my memory on that trial. The trial of Kristen Smart and the young man who's not young anymore. I think it's like 20 years or something.
Oh, God.
I know.
Yeah.
And his father, I believe there were 4 or 5 dogs, separate dogs went in there. If they all alerted on the same place, and I would want to know that the first person whose dog went in and alerted here, here, and here didn't come out and go, hey, everyone, my dog alerted here, here, and here. If the other people.
Right, because then everybody would be expecting it.
Yes,
right.
And there were no other people around.
Right.
I find that a lot more credible than the case of Molly, who was the only dog.
Yeah.
And this woman's in the hot seat for her reputation.
Yeah. Wow.
There was a handler who lied.
Really? I guess it's like anything else, blood splatter, what injuries mean, it's all actually very subjective. It's
there was this handler, Sandra Anderson. She was once recognized as one of the nation's best trainers and handlers of cadaver sniffing dogs.
Okay.
And she got 21 months in prison for planting bones and other fake evidence in the cases in which she worked.
Wow.
Yeah. She planted bones. She used her own body fluids. Yeah, she was.
Okay. So it wasn't the dog's fault.
No.
The dog was alerting accurately.
Yeah. I guess.
as far as we know.
Yeah.
But unplanted evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, this gets complicated.
Yeah. But see, she got, we're like, well, the dog wants a treat. The dog wants the handler's praise. What does the handler want? In her case, she got invited to Panama and Bosnia to look for victims of political repression. She got invited to Zero after September 11th. She was featured on Unsolved Mysteries after helping convict a Michigan biochemist of dismembering his wife in 1999. Yeah.
Jeez.
So that person was granted a new trial, incidentally, because of her.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But see, she was getting to travel.
Yeah. Well, and she was a celebrity.
Yes.
In our own little worlds. She was a celebrity. She was, and that's a big world, but that's not like,
Yeah.
That's still celebrity status. That's still social equity. That's everything that we want.
Yeah. Power, I guess, in that circle. You have social.
Yeah. In that. Yeah.
Social influence. But people went to prison.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's just evil.
Yeah.
Ugh. She got 21 months. That's a different, my husband was telling me the other day, there's a woman was fired from her job and she had access. They did not remove her access from the computer. So she deleted all of these applications for jobs. Like she just went in and wiped. I don't know what else she did, but she created some havoc in their mainframe. And I think they gave her 15 years. And I'm like,
you get less for murder.
Yeah. People
manslaughter, you get 5, if you're white and middle class, but yeah,
like 7 years, and we ruined the rapist's life, giving him 7 years. But this woman just pissed off, and she went in and fucked up a computer, and she's getting 15 years. I don't know.
Wow.
Well,
yeah, I know. Whenever I hear any kind of bizarre sentencing like that, my first thing is manslaughter. They get 5.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not really manslaughter, it's more than that, but they
yes, exactly. But this person sent people to jail. Also, they're looking for people who were victims of this and that, like there are families that are saying, what happened to my loved one?
Oh,
and she's hosing them all.
Wow.
Yeah, 21 months. I don't know.
Oh, that's what she got for planting evidence. Mm-hmm. And the poor lady who did some cyber revenge.
Yeah.
Which is just chaos. It's not necessarily
yeah, she inconvenienced people.
Yeah, and she got 15 years. Yeah.
What the heck?
So, yeah, that's really scary because I still have, just thinking through different scenarios, I'm still having that gut reaction. Well, they probably did it anyway.
You know what? For one thing, if a dog sniffed it, we love the dog.
Yeah. We're more on the dog side than we are
the dog
else.
said that Casey Anthony's, I get them mixed up. There's Kaylee, and Kaylee was the child and Casey is the mom.
Yeah, I think Kaylee was the child. I think yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they say that baby was in the trunk of this car, and you have a good feel toward the dog. Also, we want the answer.
You're like, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And it's so cool that dogs can do this.
It's always a problem in police work.
Yeah.
Is they want the answer.
Sure.
And so if they get something that's a likely answer, then they talk about the blinder.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. And then they don't look anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if the dog's just corroborating that, then.
Because it's a good dog.
So there's very little that's black and white.
No, I know. So having some kind of rigorous training protocol and testing.
Yes.
Oh, and then the other problem is regression.
Okay.
Yeah, that if you aren't practicing your precision, and we've talked about this with the neuroscience, the connections in the brain. You have to,
Right.
I mean, when writers say I have to write every day, they do have to write every day because the brain becomes trained, all the neurons for daily writing. I mean, like that's how you have proficiency and skill and expertise.
Yes. Right.
And the dogs need that too, for that precise, it's this spot and not this spot here. It's stronger here. It's not stronger. I have to alert. I have to be focused just on the scent and not on my handler's body language or in the body language. Like the dog has to be trained to that level daily.
Right.
So people talk about these volunteers having to work like an hour or two a day to maintain that proficiency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
if you're not getting called up very often.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I know, you would slack. Also, hello, that's boring. I mean, it's cool like the first 6 months when you're working with molars.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you just scored, you went to a surgeon and you got the surgeon to give you their surgical swabs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you just got that. You just scored that. And how hot are you now?
Right. And then things quiet down for months and months.
Yeah,
and,
and
months
all
and
the
months.
novelty wears off.
Right.
Yep, and it's just a grind like everything else. An hour to a day. Yeah. You'd have to find ways to mix it up, you know, like have an affair with one of the other handlers or something.
Something interesting's got to happen. You could patrol the neighborhood for possible serial killers or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There's a book.
What, of a handler who is
of a handler, and you're going for a walk and they keep alerting on this guy's yard.
Cool. And you'd say, I trust my dog. No, this handler would be like, I had a false alert that humiliated me. So I'm doubting my dog. And the dog can tell.
This can't be.
I was reading somewhere that you have
they're
to
disgraced even.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, they're disgraced. And they're trying to recover from that. Like, what else are they going to do with their lives? But you, if you distrust your dog, the dog distrusts himself and can walk right past a target scent. So you would be missing the drugs, you would be missing the body, you would be missing the bomb. So that's another reason that handlers will say, my dog never false alerts, because they've trained themselves and they've trained the dog to have confidence in the alert. It's really messed up. I mean, it's a miracle that
it is messed up
that we do so well. Yeah, I'm not saying we can't rely on them.
I'm saying it. I mean, yes, right, and we can. I mean, obviously, they've got far more olfactory nerves than we do,
and this works. This does work. You know, even a sloppy handler, you know, people who had gotten bored and aren't practicing all that often. I mean,
well, I will say that the handler, under cross-examination, the handler of Molly in the red wine case did say that it's not foolproof.
She did.
But then she went on to say, my dog has never alerted that much.
Well, what other evidence do they have in that case?
Oh boy, I'm trying to think. Well, there's a lot of motive. I know that. Well, at least there is a motive. Let's put it that way.
This is the red wine case.
Yeah, the boy... and they found some of the boy, like the skull and some other pieces of clothing, not far from the father's house. But again,
is this the case where the boy was not a, I mean, I'm picturing it like a 7-year-old. It wasn't a 7-year-old. It was like
no, he was like 13.
Okay.
Or something like that. He was a young teenager.
And he had found compromising photos.
Photos.
So when you say there was motive.
Yeah. that was the motive, was the fact that he had seen these pictures.
Did you look at those pictures, Anne?
I did look at those pictures. Oh my God.
I'm thinking it's gross.
But it's not enough to make you want to kill your kid.
Is it? Yeah.
I don't know.
No, well, I don't. I was on a grand jury.
Not me, but
for 6 months we had to.
Yes, I remember you did that.
Yeah, and we had to indict, and it changed me forever to see, I'm a crime junkie, and I love what is it, gritty, dark, and violent. That's my TV taste, according to Netflix or something. This is your taste, gritty, dark, and violent. Right. But the real life run of the mill murders, they were over nothing. Just not the motive
was nothing. Yeah.
$30, rejection, just so. I mean, Louis C.K. says we greatly over value human life. Yeah. Anyway, so this kid found puppy poop photos or something, like his father's shitting in a diaper and wearing the diaper and like a baby diaper, and he's eating the poop, and wow,
he's doing the baby. Well, because that's a kink fetish, whatever. I don't know.
Right. And you can't tell what if it's really poop or not in the diaper. They're just photos. So
if it was a joke,
I'm gonna go with chocolate cake. It was chocolate cake.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, you're right. A lot of murders do happen over just the smallest things. Yeah.
Also, you don't know how the kid handled that. I mean, a 13-year-old can really flip out over nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. To put it mildly. They had cadaver dogs on the Madeleine McCann thing. I hadn't heard about that. Madeleine McCann, the little girl who disappeared from the resort.
Oh, tell me about that. I don't know about that.
2 British sniffer dogs, one capable of detecting blood and human remains, were brought to Portugal, and they picked up scent of death on everything from Mrs. McCann's clothing. On everything from Mrs. McCann's clothes to missing Madeleine's favorite soft toy cuddle cat, according to reports. The McCanns are concerned that their case against them may rest on the dog's reaction. The judge did dismiss cadaver dog evidence in the high-profile Eugene Zapata murder in Madison, Wisconsin. Zapata's estranged wife, flight instructor, Jeanette Zapata, was 37 when she vanished on October 11th, 1976. After seeing her 3 children off to school, her body was never found. Zapata was suspected, and they didn't charge him, lack of evidence. And then they did new searches with cadaver dogs. So then he was charged with first-degree murder based on the dog evidence indicated they sniffed human remains in a small basement crawl space. And the judge ruled last month that the evidence that led to the charge could not be put before the jury. He said that dogs were too unreliable in detecting the odor of remains, and noted that no remains were actually found.
See, that's the catch. We want to be able to fill in those blanks where, what happened.
Right.
Did they, where did the crime happen in the house? How did they move the body? Right. Yeah. And the dog can see the past in a sense, because they can say Kilroy was here.
Right. Yeah. But I guess in the Zapata case, it sounds like that was the only evidence.
Okay. I find the 5 dogs or 4 or 5 dogs that went into that dorm room, that's more compelling than a single dog and a single handler.
Yeah. So bottom line, they're a good tool. They're a very good tool, but not 100%.
No, because the relationship between the handler and the dog is so subjective. It's so vexed.
Right.
Because of Clever Hans, because of theory of mind, because of how many thousands of years of coevolution?
Yeah, a lot. I forget now, but a lot.
Yeah. You know what's interesting?
Tens of
now
thousands.
that besides all of this that we've been talking about, you know what's interesting is that is another, we're saying, oh, we like the dog. Like the dog said Kaylee Anthony was in the trunk, and you like the dog, so you want to leave the dog. And we don't even know that dog, right? That dog could be an asshole, but we love dogs. Here's the thing. You can train a rat to do all of these things.
But we don't like rats. Yeah.
No, not like we like dogs.
Yeah.
There may be less of this interdependence where the rat may have less of a motive to false alert.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So there may be other animals that are better at this because we're less interdependent.
Right. Oh, that's a good, because I would say that, they scent train pigs. But pigs are, I don't know, pigs are pretty tied to their humans as well. I think you might have some of that. Some of that may be a problem as well.
You know, it would be good for pigeons. I don't know anything about olfactory cells in birds.
Yeah, I don't either.
Except it's impressive still.
Is it?
Well, how do vultures find carrion?
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what we need, because vultures are trainable. Vultures are extremely intelligent and social. They're not birds of prey.
Oh, that's so not gonna go. That's not gonna happen.
Oh, come on, Aunt.
They are not cute. Nobody wants to be around them.
Yeah, but we're looking for dead bodies.
That doesn't matter. We want the dog.
Please like, follow, and subscribe. Let us know what you appreciate about the podcast so we keep doing that. If you want to learn more about any of the subjects on this episode, you can go to our show notes. Special thanks to Chip Salerno for our theme song, and to Sarah K. Martin for our graphic design.